started. Okay, looks like we've reached a critical mass. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for the third installment of the HNTB Partners Program one-on-one virtual event series. It is my pleasure to be with you this morning for this great program. I am Tara Dowdell of the Tara Dowdell Group, a social good marketing and PR agency, and we are proud partners of HNTB. So if you've been with us before for some of our many other webinars, then you probably know me well and you've probably heard this spiel before. But again, it is my pleasure to have you join us. And we're really excited for today's program because not only do we have an amazing speaker, an amazing special guest speaker, and really great and exciting news to share with you today, but I'm proud to have two other partners working on this program and participating in this program today. Shalivia Baptiste of Professional Women in Construction, who is an HNTB partner. She's also the CEO of Lambert, and Trang Bowie of the Bowie Studio, and she was integral in helping to put this event together. So you have a trifecta of HNTB partners this morning. Before I introduce Steve Diltz, Senior Vice President and New York Office Leader, I want to go over a few notes with you. So first, this webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a copy of this recorded webinar in a few days in a follow-up email that we will be sending to you from Tara Dowdell Group with a survey. So we hope that you will complete that survey because we work hard to ensure that all the programming that we offer is responsive to what you need and what you like to hear and what is helpful and beneficial to you. And also very important, if you have not completed an HNTB Partners Program registration form, we will also provide that to you in the follow-up email. So please do complete that form when you receive it. If you do not receive our follow-up email in a few days, please check your spam folder because it could be there in your junk folder, and please mark it as not spam or safe sender so that you receive all future correspondence from us. Now, you didn't come to hear me do housekeeping. So what I'm going to do is introduce Steve Diltz. And so again, for those of you who've been a part of this programming, and I know we have a lot of people that come back and we appreciate that, and we're glad that this is helpful to you. But the architect behind this program, the New York office leader, the Senior Vice President of HNTB, Steve Diltz, is going to steward us through this program today. He is our MC. And I just want to share with you a little about him. Many of you probably know a lot about him already. He was the commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Transportation. He was at the Turnpike Authority. He has a long and extensive track record in transportation infrastructure policy, advocacy, and leadership. We are proud to have him as a partner at HNTB. HNTB is lucky to have his guidance and his leadership, and he has made a true commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I can speak for that from personal experience that this is real for him. And without any further ado, Steve Diltz.
Good morning, Tara. Thank you so much always for your kind introduction. And as I always say, it's wonderful to be introduced by Tara Dowdell in any form. And particularly today, thank you to you and your team for all the hard work you've put into our HNTB Partners Program. And thank you all for joining us this morning. Before I tell you more about today's virtual one-on-one, I'd like to acknowledge and thank our co-host, Professional Women in Construction, for their partnership and support. You will hear from Shalivia Baptiste, Board Secretary for Professional Women in Construction, next. We are thrilled to present today's program featuring Wayne Lambert, Chief Diversity and Industry Relations Officer at the New York City Department of Design and Construction, better known as DDC. Not only will Wayne be sharing important information and updates about DDC's efforts to expand opportunities for M and WBEs, he will also be announcing today DDC's newly launched construction mentoring program. And in addition to this big announcement, we have the dynamic New York City Councilwoman Carlina Rivera, who will also be sharing resources with us. Today's virtual event is part of our one-on-one series that we created for our HNTB Partners Program, where you have the opportunity to hear from influential policymakers who who are moving the needle on equity and inclusion in our industry. Our Partners Program is committed to growing our relationships and collaborations with MW and DBE subconsultants, but it is also focused on supporting your business growth, which is why we work hard to ensure that all of our program is practical, actionable, and results-driven. Ultimately, our goal is to equip you to seamlessly partner with us, as well as to secure more of your own opportunities. At HNTB, we pride ourselves on integrity, technical excellence, respect for others, continual development of all of our employees, and commitment to our professions. The foundation of our commitment to unrivaled quality is our people and the teams that we build through partnerships. HNTB is committed to continuous improvement. And it is fitting that October is Employee Ownership Month, because HNTB is proudly an employee-owned company, which drives our values, including the value we place on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're leaning into diversity and inclusion because we know they spark innovation and lead to better outcomes. Our industry is facing major challenges, and we know we can better meet those challenges with diverse teams. We recognize the grit and ingenuity that it takes for smaller businesses and minority and women-owned businesses to survive and thrive in our industry, particularly in these challenging times. So before I introduce Shalivia, I'd like to thank a few more people who helped make this event possible. To Desiree Gazzo, Senior UDLA Community Engagement at HNTB, thank you, Desiree, for suggesting and helping to shape today's exciting program. And another HNTB partner, Trang Bowie, owner of Bowie Studio, an MWBE based in the Lower East Side with over 15 years of public sector experience. Trang has been involved in disaster recovery and resiliency programs totaling over $6 billion, ranging from the 9/11 World Trade Center recovery and Hurricane Katrina to the recent COVID-19 responses across New York. We're grateful for her partnership and assistance with this event. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Shalivia Baptiste. Shalivia is the Secretary of the Professional Women in Construction Board of Directors and CEO of Lambert Baptiste, a construction management firm. In addition to being an industry leader, Lambert Baptiste is an HNTB partner that is currently a sub-consultant on our work with the New York City DDC. Shalivia has more than 15 years of experience in the civil engineering industry with particular expertise in site and land development. She has a strong understanding of the civil design process and has worked with clients in both the public and the private sectors. Mrs. Baptiste's expertise include conceptual site planning, drainage design, design of septic and sewer collection systems, environmental review, zoning and land use analysis, and subdivision planning and design. She has designed waterfront structures, including bulkheads and docks. Mrs. Baptiste is a New York and New Jersey licensed professional engineer. She has a bachelor's degree from Polytechnic Institute and a master's degree from Polytechnic Institute of New York University. Shalivia, welcome.
Thank you, Steve, for that great introduction. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. As Steve said, my name is Shalivia Baptiste, and I'm the CEO of Lambert Baptiste, and we provide construction management services in New York. And we're so glad to join HNTB in this event today. So Lambert Baptiste is part of the HNT Partners Program. And as Steve mentioned, we're a sub-consultant to the HNTB Lero team for the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project. And we feel that the HNTB Partners Program is so important because it allows MWBEs to connect and serve and provide their services on some of the largest projects that are going on in New York. And this allows us to grow in capacity. It allows us to learn, and it allows us to begin to gain traction in the industry and also in New York City. So we're really grateful for this program. In addition, I do serve on the board for Professional Women in Construction, PwC, and we support, advance, and connect women and promote diversity within the architecture, engineering, construction, and related industries. We're a community of professionals in the AEC industry that provides opportunity for connection and engagement that leads to business, which is the most important thing for us. We invite women, men, and all levels of professionals to join this community. So if you're not a member of PwC, we invite you to join after today's session. Some of the benefits of membership include informative industry programming, exclusive member resources, leadership and networking opportunities, scholarship and mentorship. We have 4 subcommittees, and one being the MWBE committee, which is glad to co-host this event today. And our goal is to really connect our MWBE firms with authorities, with agencies, and larger primes to get them business and to get them work. And we do this by curating strategic meetings, one-on-ones, partnerships like this with HNTB to ensure that we are getting to the table, we're providing the best services to build our New York City. So thank you.
Olivia, thank you. And now it is my honor to introduce to you Councilwoman Carlina Rivera. Councilwoman Rivera represents the 2nd Council District, which includes the diverse neighborhoods of the East Village, Flatiron, Gramercy Park, Rose Hill, Kips Bay, Murray Hill, and the Lower East Side. Since taking office in 2017, Carlina has fought for the affordability and the livability of New York City by championing issues around affordable housing, small business survival, equitable healthcare, transportation, and quality of life issues. In addition to tackling these tough legislative issues, she has taken a stand for gender equity as the co-chair of the Women's Caucus by sponsoring legislation on sexual harassment and the gender wage gap. Carlina is making sure that the small business owners who serve our communities are able to thrive. She has passed legislation that requires the city to provide additional resources to small business owners and to keep track of storefront vacancies. Additionally, she has partnered with community organizations to create a special low-interest loan program to help revitalize struggling businesses. Understanding that safe and effective transportation is crucial to the lives of so many New Yorkers, Carlina has introduced and passed legislation supporting public transportation, cyclists, and pedestrians, making the city safer for all. Councilwoman, we welcome you and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Stephen. I think you're rivaling Tara in that. And I appreciate how you have summarized a lot of my work that I've been trying to do. Good morning to everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Carlina Rivera, council member representing District 2 in Manhattan, which is a fantastic district. We have Murray Hill and Kips Bay and the Flatiron community in Gramercy Park, East Village, and Lower East Side, where I was born and raised. And I want to take a quick moment to thank Tara Dowdell and the team at the Tara Dowdell Group. She is an inspiring person, and I am grateful to know her. Of course, thank you to HNTB, Professional Women in Construction, and DDC for welcoming me to join you all at this morning's event, because we know that New York City is nothing without small businesses. Whether it's bodegas or delis, hardware stores, vintage boutiques, our contractors, we love our businesses, small, medium, large businesses, but they make us who we are. Our small businesses make up the fabric of our city. And we owe so much to the small businesses and their employees who were forced to sacrifice their livelihoods for the public health and well-being of our city over the past year and a half. It has truly been a struggle and incredibly challenging for all types of businesses. Even pivoting to work remotely, I know, has been a challenge. Small businesses have taken care of us, always and especially during the pandemic, and we must take care of them. And so I've always been, and I continue to be, committed to expanding opportunities for our small businesses, especially minority and women-owned businesses. I'm a council member, sure, but I grew up here. I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I'm a proud Latina, first and forever. And so that's why in my district, I really try to help and build these alliances with local organizations to create a small business support fund. It's designed to help those delis, those laundromats, those other local establishments with minor capital improvements, with marketing, with design, and other investments that help our small businesses thrive. And so these are the sort of community-based initiatives that I hope we can replicate citywide, and that we're trying to in the New York City Council. And that's what I will continue to fight for as a representative. And I know that it's my obligation and my responsibility to not just keep thinking out of the box or pushing the envelope, but to also look to the experts and all of the talent in this city on ideas, solutions that are truly sustainable and that can help just bring us back to what we were pre-pandemic. So back in May of 2020, I did what I could to help. I introduced a bill, we passed the bill, suspending personal liability provisions, which protected thousands of small business owners at risk of losing their personal assets and their life savings if their businesses went under. I also successfully advocated for the restoration of funding to the Commercial Lease Assistance Program. We call that the CLA program in the City Council. It is a lifeline for small businesses and specifically MWBEs. It allows them to receive free legal assistance when needed. And you can imagine, as people were renegotiating their leases months into the pandemic, how critical this program was. Now we're focused on passing a form of commercial rent stabilization before the end of this term. It's no secret that we have both a residential and commercial rent problem in the 5 boroughs. I mean, even before the pandemic, the rent was too high and it was climbing at unchecked rates, leaving so many of our small business owners scrambling to make ends meet. And of course, the call for increased protections for small businesses is not a new one. We all know this has been something that our small businesses have needed. And so we've been advocating for this kind of legislation for a long time. Our cities had commercial rent regulations in the past, and I think we deserve it again. So we're trying to be responsible in putting forward that language for this legislation. And you know, if not now, then when? So while we continue to work in the City Council to pass legislation that addresses the systemic racial and economic disparities, putting so many of our small businesses in peril, my team and I continue to do everything we can to help get New Yorkers connected to the resources that help them expand and sustain their businesses. And so we have the Mayor's Office of Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprises. They offer several trainings, workshops. They offer funding opportunities that can help, including contract financing, assistance loans, emerging developer loans, one-on-one technical assistance for city contracts, and so much more. I do hope people utilize that office. They do have a wealth of information and resources, and that's connected to multiple agencies. And so you can find something that works for you. And I think the technical assistance piece is so important. And so the city's Department of Design and Construction also offers programs and resources to ensure that MWBEs thrive in our city and that our city's contracts reflect the diversity of New Yorkers. I'll let Wayne share more about that, but I'm very grateful to DDC for their continued partnership on projects in District 2. The East Side Coastal Resiliency Project was mentioned. I'm sure Wayne will talk about that. It's a massive project, union jobs. We want to make sure that the contracting there is fair and balanced. I also have another workforce development center that is going up on 14th Street at Irving and 14th Street. We have an MWBE commitment there, but we're also in partnership. That is a signature project with non-traditional employment for women. That is also to get more women, that ensures more women on site in construction. So whether it's tech, biotech, construction, whatever the booming industries are, we want to make sure that our historically underrepresented New Yorkers and people are getting into those industries. So that's what I think about every day when I wake up: small business survival and ensuring economic opportunity to close that gap that's been, evident for so long. And I'm very, very proud to do it. And I'm proud to be in this space to share my work. So thank you again for having me. It has been such a pleasure to start the morning with you all. Thanks so much.
Councilwoman, thank you, and thank you for your leadership. And now it's my privilege to introduce our one-on-one discussion with Wayne Lambert and Lori Katzman. Wayne Lambert is the Chief Diversity and Industry Relations Officer at the New York City Department of Design and Construction, DDC, where he leads the Office of Diversity and Industry Relations to create economic opportunity and advance outcomes for minority and women-owned businesses. Wayne joined DDC in 2020 and previously worked with the Mayor's Office of MWBE Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and Department of Small Business Services, where he served major roles on various diversity initiatives. Wayne, thank you again for taking the time to join us this morning and for your vision and your leadership during this challenging time. You have been a tremendous partner and a true advocate for MWDBEs. You're joined by and going to have a conversation with Lori Katzman. She is my deputy office leader for Discover and a vice president of HNTB. And as such, she oversees strategic planning and sales processes. Lori joined HNTB over 5 years ago. Time flies, Lori. And after a successful career with the Long Island Railroad and Metropolitan Transit Authority Capital Construction, where she Transportation Authority Capital Construction, where she managed over $10 billion in transportation design and construction programs and contracts. She served in various project and executive level positions, including LIRR Vice President related to East Side Access, Penn Station, East River Tunnels, and West Side Yard. At HNTB, Lori has served as a senior project manager for the MTA Bridges and Tunnels, New York Crossing Program, cashless tolling implementation. It's called Open Road Tolling, and project manager of the Path Extension to Newark program. She's a wonderful colleague. Wayne, Lori, welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Wayne. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, why don't you tell us a little about the DDC and its work?
Sure. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Stephen. And of course, thank you, Council Member Rivera. It's great to be a part of this group here today. Of course, you're representing the New York City Department of Design and Construction, where, we're the city's chief construction manager, providing professional project management and design services to more than 20 city agencies and nonprofit organizations that receive city funding. We're led by Commissioner Jamie Torres Springer. The agency builds essential infrastructure throughout the 5 boroughs, such as water mains, sewers, public plazas, and pedestrian ramp upgrades that you see all across the city if you when you're crossing the corners. In addition to building and upgrading our public buildings such as libraries, firehouses, and precincts, DDC's responsibilities continue to expand to meet the challenges presented by economic and population growth and climate change, as was alluded to earlier. I oversee the Office of Diversity and Industry Relations and the Business Development Unit, and have an amazing team of dedicated professionals whose primary goal is to increase opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses, enhance workforce development initiatives, and ultimately create economic opportunity across New York City and beyond, ridding us of these disparities that exist.
Thank you. And I know you have some exciting news to share, which was previewed during the March PwC meeting. Could you tell us about the DDC's new construction mentoring program for MWBEs?
Sure. Thank you for that question. And yes, we are very excited about our new construction mentoring program, slated to launch at the end of this year. Some of you may know that state legislation gave us, the city and DDC, the authority to create a mentoring program similar to that of the MTA and SCA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority and the School Construction Authority, who have existing programs. And essentially, the city now has the ability to create a program geared towards building capacity for minority and women-owned businesses. This program is a 2-tier program where we'll have MWBEs apply, enter, get into the program, and ultimately gain access to prime contract opportunities with the support of a technical assistance consultant and the construction CM mentor, again, to guide and help along the way. But the main caveat there is that MWBEs will be able to work as prime contractors and really gaining the experience to become more independent and increase their capacity and ability to ultimately win more contracts and greater size contracts. As I mentioned, it's a 2-tier program. So the first tier is slated for contracts up to $1.5 million, and MWBEs have the opportunity to then graduate into the second tier of the program, which is for contracts up to $3 million. And all the while, they'll be able to get that experience and still bid on other projects outside of the mentoring program. But it's essentially, the program is geared towards the small businesses who enter the program, and contracts will be slated for those businesses. Of course, we'll be working closely with the Department of Small Business Services and other partner agencies. But again, we're very excited for this, and MDB should be looking out for information. We started sharing our brochures out, putting information on our website, and we'll be very aggressive in getting information out there over the coming weeks to ensure that we have a lot of small businesses applying for the program. We've actually been getting a lot of calls and inquiries, which has been great. But again, we're super excited for this.
That's great to hear. And another question that many have been wondering about are what adjustments have been made to the procurement process in response to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, well, as we know, the COVID pandemic has impacted all of us, right? In ways unimaginable. It's definitely impacted us as a city. We were pretty much shut down for the most part, right? Over the last 18 months or so. Wow, it's been that long. And essentially, in terms of the procurement process, one of the things that happened, as we know, initially, a lot of the spending and funding went towards PPE, health-related and safety initiatives across the city. That was sort of the main focus, making sure that the city was able to recover and sort of make it through the pandemic from a health and safety perspective. That being said, Mayor de Blasio signed Executive Order 59, and that was an initiative that ultimately helped to steer or gear opportunities, those emergency contracting opportunities and the like, for greater consideration for MWBEs. Many procurements were sped up, obviously trying to ensure that we can get goods and services as soon as possible. But in terms of MWBE, Executive Order 59 created a wealth of opportunities for MWBEs, again, on the emergency side, making sure that there were goals set on emergency contracts to ensure that MWBEs had opportunities there. There were greater discretionary opportunities that came out of Executive Order 59 as well, ensuring that MWBEs had the ability to win contracts during that really crazy time, right? So those are some of the sort of outcomes there, but Executive Order 59 was the main one there, and again, it had an impact on the city's MWBE utilization, ensuring that opportunities were slated for minority and women-owned businesses.
Thank you. We also know that the DDC has implemented a design build program that includes some high profile projects. Can you detail some of the changes related to MWBE requirements and utilization on these design build projects?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you again, Lori, for that question. So design build is a relatively new procurement tool that the city has and DDC has. Essentially, it's a more effective, efficient way of doing construction and has major cost savings. And for DDC, we wanted to make sure that when we implemented design build, obviously got excited to do that and found a set of what we call pilot projects that fall under the purview of the program. And again, we wanted to make sure that we had goals on these particular projects, and not just goals in the typical way design build has been done. As many of you know, design build typically has a 30% goal. We wanted to take that one step further, right? The design build is a design portion and a construction portion. So we worked diligently to ensure that there were 30% goals on design separate from construction. And that again opened up opportunities on the professional services side, on / design side, but also on the construction side. We incorporated a number of MWBE caveats in there to ensure that design build teams had to account for their previous MWBE performance and also display to us how they intend to utilize MWBEs on design build projects before they can actually win these big contracts. But there are many contracts that fall under the purview there. We a $10 million borough-based jail program that many of you are familiar with, where design build applies as well. Again, I talked about the separate goals there, applies on those projects as well. There's additional caveats there allowing MWBE credit for all tiers of subcontracting, because as you know, design build has many phases. So all tiers of MWBE subcontracting counts under design build. Also, there's 60% credit for suppliers. And we recognize New York City and New York State certified MWBEs. In addition to that, right, because design build was relatively new to the city and new to MWBEs who did not have the experience, we ensured that there were caveats in there that also, allowed for MDB participation as long as the vendor has similar or related experience, but not only design build experience, they can bid in and perform on design build projects. And for us here at DDC, getting information out is something that's key to us. We develop this what we call design build forum series. And through those forum series, we share lots of information on design build projects. We pretty much have them every 2 to 3 months. The next one will likely be in November. So definitely look out for that. But again, we're excited to continue using this tool.
Great, thank you. That's all good to hear. Could you share with us a few of your other key goals for the MWBE program?
Sure. So another legislative tool that we have as a city and through via DDC is the use of discretionary tools. Years ago, right, discretionary spending was only up to $20,000, right? Then we were able to increase that to $150,000, and now we have the ability to purchase, to make discretionary purchases up to $500,000. Not as big as the state. The state has $1 million, but we have $500,000 here at the city, and essentially we have a policy in place, DDC, and so does many other agencies, where any procurement or purchase up to $500,000 is slated for an MWBE. We must go through an MWBE process, and we take that even one step further, looking at the data and acknowledging a disparity within the disparity to ensure that MWBEs who are underutilized are getting more opportunities to our discretionary purchasing power. Additionally, we are also developing MWBE only pre-qualified lists. Again, these are opportunities solely for MWBEs and of course qualified MWBEs, right? We go through procurement processes. And again, these contract opportunities allow MWBEs to work as prime contractors and again, opportunities geared towards minority and women small businesses across the city. Additionally, we set goals, but we take it one step further. Some of you know that the city has the ability to set what's known as disaggregated or targeted goals for specific groups of MWBEs. And again, looking at the data, tying it to underutilization. So instead of saying we're going to set a 30% goal on a particular procurement, and again, these are local law 1 / admin code 6129 procurements, we ensure that they're targeted goals based on availability, looking at the scope and really peeling back the layers there to ensure that there are opportunities for all MWBEs and everyone has a chance and access to this pie of funding and spending here that the city has. So those are some of, and of course there are many others, but those are some of the 3 main ones.
So if you could also summarize for us DDC's 3 biggest priorities moving forward, and what is the expected timeline for undertaking them?
Mm-hmm. So I wish I could limit it to 3. We actually have many priorities here at DDC, as you can imagine. But one of the major ones is our strategic blueprint, improving our front-end planning, initiation, design, and procurement process. This allows us to shorten the project timeline, implement construction faster, which obviously we is key when in this industry, and allowing us to have on-time project delivery. This also allows us to speed up procurement, improve technology. That's part of the effort as well. Paying faster, right? We hear from MWBEs all the time, getting paid, especially if they're operating as subcontracts. That's something that we pay a lot of attention to here at DDC. Also adding project delivery tools, accelerating design and construction schedules, improving utility coordination, and so on. In addition to that, I mentioned design build, the design build authority that we have. Again, another tool that we have been excited to utilize, and it gives us ability to do a lot more in terms of in the construction space. We need to renew design build. That's a critical tool for the city and DDC, and that expires in December 2022. So we'll need to renew that. In addition, we have been fighting as a city an agency for owner-controlled contractor-controlled insurance program, also known as OSIP-CSIP. That's something that we hear from MWBs as well, right? That insurance cost impacts, the ability for MWBs to bid on projects because of that sort of cost burden. So it shifts insurance and that cost burden, and it's a real-world tool for MWB participation. Also, raising the discretionary spending threshold, as I alluded to earlier. We have $500,000 threshold now. We want to get up to $1 million. We know that there's so much more we can do there, and we see the impact of that discretionary power across the city. Again, that creates a number of new opportunities for MWBEs. And a new element to the Office of Diversity and Industry Relations is workforce development and community hiring. Definitely something that's important, to the council member, DDC as well, and the city, right? This is a major step to creating a diverse, organized labor force. And also construction CM build, also known as a construction manager build. That's another tool that DDC would love to have, and it gives us the ability to do more and create more contracting opportunities. So I know that was more than three, but again, a whole lot going on here at
Okay.
DDC.
That's okay. Another important topic is, could you share some of the DDC's upcoming projects? And are there any specific capabilities or service areas that you have a need for on these projects?
So the Red Hook Coastal Resiliency and all of the coastal resiliency initiatives, as alluded to earlier again by Councilmember Rivera, again, very important to us, right? We see the impact that the weather, the climate change has had on the city. So the Red Hook Coastal Resiliency is one project that comes to mind. That's a coastal protection project funded by the City of New York and Federal Emergency Management, or FEMA, and the New York State Department of Emergency and Homeland Security Services. That's aimed at reducing flood risk due to coastal storm surge and sea level rise along Red Hook's waterfront, while also integrating with the community fabric and improving the long-term resiliency of the neighborhood. Also, the Brooklyn Bridge, Montgomery coastal resiliency. DDC will install a combination of flood walls and deployable flip-up barriers to reduce flooding risk from both sea level rise and storm surge. Along the waterfront from Brooklyn Bridge to Montgomery Street, for those of you from Brooklyn, shouts to Brooklyn. New York City EDC will lead the design for the project, which will maintain access and visibility to the waterfront. So those are, again, coastal resiliency, that's, we've got a lot of attention there. Those are major projects, a slew of opportunities in the professional services space, and some additional opportunities. And we set aggressive goals on those projects to ensure that there are opportunities across the board for MWBEs, working with our general contractors to ensure that we get the word out there on potential opportunities, and again, diverse opportunities across the board.
Great, thank you. What kind of advice could you offer M and WBEs who are pursuing work with the DDC?
So I would say, there's definitely a lot of information on our website, a lot of resources rather on our website that, availability of PQ, as I touched on earlier, the list of solicitation, the pre-proposal meeting, meetings that come up where subs can engage with prime contractors. There's also resources that help vendors understand how to work with DDC and some of the documents and information that they need to be mindful of to ensure that they have access to opportunities. A big one for the city is also making sure MWBEs get their information into Passport, the Passport database. You can go there by visiting www.nyc.gov/passport. Again, to register. That's the only way that you'll hear about discretionary opportunities that come out of DDC, but also you'll learn about the opportunities that are coming down the pike as well. So I would definitely advise vendors to reach out to check our website. Definitely reach out to us with questions. Obviously, we partner with the Department of Small Business Services, Mayor's Office of MWBE, and Mayor's Office of Contract Services, who are our oversight partners. And they have a wealth of capacity building services, trainings, and so on. And we work hand in hand with them to ensure that that information gets out there to MWBEs.
Okay, thank you. What are the most common challenges that you've observed with MWBEs that are self-consulting on your projects? And what advice do you have to help them to avoid these challenges?
Sure. So yeah, there's definitely challenges that really hinder the progress of MWBEs. One that has come up, during the pandemic and even prior has been access to capital and financing. That's a big one for MWBEs, right? Having the ability, but not the capital or resources to really get started on these projects. And the Department of Small Business Services, referencing them again, as a partner agency, they have capacity building programs and initiatives. One of them is an upfront capital loan program that they have, where basically you can, borrow at very low interest rates borrow funding, upfront funding that helps to support upfront cost up to $1 million. And again, that's through the Department of Small Business Services. And it basically uses that contract that you have as collateral in a way, right? But that contract gives you access to those upfront capital loan and other resources that they have there. They also have other programs and trainings, as I alluded to earlier, and we're also working with them to create a separate SPS DDC mentorship program around other construction initiatives. But also payment issues have come up as well. And, in our strategic blueprint, that's something that we focus on heavily. But also even outside of, specific types of procurements, we have implemented payment process to ensure that MDBs get paid quickly and on time. On the mentoring program, we've done that as well, ensuring that there are key points of contact, processes, procedures in place that ensure that MDBs get paid as soon as possible. So that's definitely a big one that has come up. And also access to information. We definitely try to communicate and connect with MDBEs as much as possible. We send weekly and bi-weekly communications. We refer to them as Did You Knows, where we share information about upcoming opportunities, resources, links, all important to MDBEs and necessary to ensure that there is access to opportunities. So, those are some of the three. If I would pick out three, I would say access to capital, payment issues, and access to information, and prime contract and opportunities.
Thank you. And the last question that I have before we open it up is, can you provide a recap of your 2021 diversity goals? And what will you think will be prioritized for the end of the year?
As noted earlier, I would stress we stress the importance here of setting disaggregated goals. So again, setting goals on all projects that are subject to DDC's Local R1 MDBE program, and also projects outside of the purview of the Local R1 program, like design build and others. We really dived in there, again, not only setting an overall goal, but setting targeted goals for MDBEs, maximizing discretionary opportunities to ensure that there's increased utilization. Again, having a major impact there on our MDBEs and sort of having a sort of pool of opportunities for our MDBE vendors. But in terms of goals, again, we set aggressive goals and, across the board, right? And goals vary on project to project. But as a city, we do have a goal of 30%. That's always our target. And in DDC's case, we've even set goals above that. We've set goals as high as 41% on our projects, again, tied to availability. So in terms of goal setting, we are one of the major players, if not the major player in terms of the city's MDB utilization. The mayor also has an initiative known as One NYC, where there's a number of MDBE goals there, one being 30%. There's some certification goals that we have met as well. And also trying to get to $25 billion by 2025 to MDBEs across all procurements in New York City. And DDC has a major impact on those goals. So again, in terms of goals, again, setting aggressive goals is our main goal on all our projects, and setting the highest goal possible.
Thank you. And thank you very much for being here with us. And it was just really informative, and I'm sure all our partners really appreciated it, just like we did. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Wayne. That was outstanding. Really good information. I learned a lot. So I know my fellow MWDPEs definitely learned a lot. Really rich. But we're going to put you on the spot now. So we have some great questions in the chat. So in the Q&A, excuse me, folks, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A, not the chat. We may not get to all of your questions, but a lot was covered already. And so I hope that this is informative for you as it feels like it has been for me. But let's introduce Desiree Gazzo. So Desiree is focused on community engagement and urban design at HNTB. She works to manage community and stakeholder input and expectations on several transformative resiliency projects and transportation projects generally, with over 10 years of experience in the transportation field and 3 years at HNTB, where she has made her mark. 3 years at HNTB, she supports the technology development group to advance public involvement management tools, all levels of modernization and innovation to ensure that communities are part of the process. And again, We're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, a key focus of Desiree Gazzo's work. I'm a beneficiary of it. So are many of the people on this call with us today or on this webinar with us today. So without any further ado, Desiree Gazzo is going to get to your questions.
Thank you so much, Tara, and thank you everyone for being with us today. I'm so excited to host the Q&A portion of this program. And Wayne, I hope you're ready because I think most of these are for you. So we did receive a few questions that came in before the program today, so we'll start with those. I know you mentioned discretionary procurement quite a few times. Did you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? The specific question we received was, do you use discretionary procurement to procure professional services for MWBE firms? And again, I know you've mentioned that, but maybe you could speak to that a little bit more.
Sure. Thank you, Desiree, and good to see you as always. So in terms of discretionary procurements, again, professional services, goods up to $1 million, and professional services do fall under the purview of the discretionary program here, and the city's discretionary program. Essentially, all opportunities, and we work hand in hand with our programs unit. So we have a public buildings division. We also have an infrastructure division. So if you think sort of vertically versus horizontally for those in the construction space, and essentially we have a number of REI A&E services that can be associated with the program. So I say that to say all A&E and professional related services are considered for discretionary opportunities, once those opportunities are there. So in short, yes, all A&E and professional services.
Great. Thank you, Wayne. We also received several questions from non-construction and engineering firms, particularly media, communication, and graphic design firms. And they want to know if there are opportunities and programs specific to these industries.
Mm-hmm. So not as robust in those areas, but I would say that we do have an intergovernmental affairs and communications team. And just like all of DDC, right? They are a part of the agency, and they are, and they ensure rather that MWBEs have access to opportunities within that shop, whether it be in the media space, in the communication space, and the like. And we work hand in hand with that division as well. So there are opportunities, not as much, but whenever they are there, we always try to identify an MWBE. Even in our HR department, again, we just always want to find, try to ensure that MWBEs have access to opportunities and support all of DDC's efforts across the board.
Great, thank you. So taking questions from today's Q&A, Angelica asked if you could please describe the type of work, potential work for MWBE pre-qualified lists, as well as anticipated dates.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of pre-qualified lists, the two, well, there's one that we're working on more immediately, and that's for our small GC contracts, our small general construction contract. There currently is a contract which includes the range of vendors, MWBEs and non-MWBEs, and by next week, we should be releasing in Passport, again, as I noted, have to make sure registered in Passport, but we will have a new RFI, request for information, or RFQ rather, qualifications there within the Passport database, and the MWBEs, we'll be reaching out to you, but definitely look out for that and submit information for that immediate again, that should, by the end of this week, that should be in the Passport system. Also, a little bit more in the long term, but I mentioned the pedestrian ramp initiative. That's a 30+ year initiative, right? And again, we walk through New York City and we see those corners that are sort of being rebuilt. We want to make sure that MWBEs have access to those opportunities as well. So we are working on a PQL list for pedestrian ramps as well. So the first one is in the public building side. The second one is on the infrastructure side. And then we are looking at other areas where we can create PQLs, whether it be through DDC or via other city agencies, partner with other city agencies. But those are the two immediate ones that we're working on right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Wayne. And I know there were a few other questions about how folks can get involved in HNTB's coastal resiliency projects. So I think we have included the chat for the Work With Us page, the DDC Work With Us page for Eastside Coastal Resiliency. in the chat. We've included the link for that. There was also a question about how to get access to the application for the mentoring program. So I think we're going to try and send that chat out as well. Wayne, I don't know, that link out as well, excuse me. I don't know if you have anything more to add to that question.
Sure. So we do have a brochure that we've been circulating. I will send that brochure following the chat. And there are links on DDC's website, so we'll send the link to DDC's website as well. We're actually updating the website as we speak to include more information. And just an FYI for MWBEs, over the month of October and November, we'll also be doing trainings around the mentoring program, again, to ensure that MWBEs understand fully what information is needed as they submit their applications for the program. So definitely look out for that. We'll be partnering with SBS. They're, again, wanting to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, wanting to make sure that MWBs have access to the information, can submit their applications and be a part of this wonderful program. So definitely more to come there. Again, we'll share some links, either through the chat and or via emails following this presentation.
Yeah, amazing, Wayne. And I know we also send a follow-up email to everyone that is on this this program this morning. So we will also include those links there as well, so people have access if they don't get a chance to copy it from the chat today. So thank you. Mindy asked the question, for the upcoming coastal resiliency projects, when can we expect the RFPs to be released for the new ones that you had mentioned?
For the coastal resiliency, so those will be, I don't have the exact date for those projects. They will definitely be on DDC's website, without a doubt, and also via the city record online. Again, we have to go through the procurement process, and that information will be publicly advertised. So I don't have the dates available right now, but we'll see if we can get some dates that we can maybe include in the follow-up communication.
Okay, great. Thanks, Wayne. I think that's all we have time for today. It's about 8:56, and I do want to be mindful of everyone's time this morning. If there were any other questions that we received in the Q&A, we will follow up. I'm going to hand it back over to Tara to close. Thank you so much again, Wayne and Shalivia, as well as Councilwoman Rivera. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you all for the excellent questions. Everyone was just, you all had some really great questions. A lot of you had questions that I have about those of us who are non-construction related businesses. So I hope that Wayne answered that question for you. I know he certainly did for me. But just to reiterate what Desiree said, again, if you missed it, check the chat, because we have a lot of good resources for you there. We do have that HNTB registration form that I know some of you have asked about. So that link is in the chat. That will get you into the HNTB database. And we will also send that out via email following this event, that email I talked about. And also, as Desiree mentioned, that to sign up, to register your company, to do work potentially on this project with HNTB, that's in the chat as well. Again, that will come in the follow-up email, and we will work with NYCDDC to get any of the other links that you might need to you in that follow-up email. So I'm going to turn things back over. We want to keep you on time, so I'm going to turn things back over to Stephen Dilts, the great Stephen Dilts, to close us out.
Tara, thanks. I echo your observations. Wonderful discussion today with Wayne and Lori, and fantastic questions. Well done here. Great program, and thank you again to the professional women in construction PWC, and specifically Shalivia Baptiste for your co-hosting and for your insights. We appreciate your time today. To the great Councilwoman Carlina Rivera, for your leadership, your passion, your commitment to M and W and DBEs, our environment, our infrastructure. We are immensely grateful to you and for your time today. And thank you, Desiree Gazzo. So well done, facilitated our Q&A so well done. And again, thank you for helping to spark this program and this event today. Thank you again to our HNTB partner, Trang Bowie Studio, to the Tara Dowdell Group team, to Tara, Justina, Oni, Kia, and Angela. We remain grateful for your long-standing partnership with us. You always give it your all and deliver so much value to us. Thank you. And everyone, please continue to check the emails that we send you, because that is where we will be sharing follow-up information. If you don't receive your emails, remember to check your spam and your junk folder. Also, if you have not completed the HNTB Partners Program registration form, please do so when you have a moment. And we will have you in our database. You can access this in the chat, and it will be sent to you in a few days as follow-up. And the post-event email will also include a recording of this webinar and the survey. And if you reach out to us and you don't hear right back, give us a few days. We will follow up. And as I mentioned, we will be keeping in touch with you via email, so you have not missed anything right at 9 o'clock. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for another in our continuing one-on-one series. Have a great day, and thank you.